You're listening to The Old New Adventures of Superman, the podcast where we review episode by episode the TV series Lois&Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. My name is Jason, I'm one of your hosts, and joining me each week...
Hello, this is Richelle.
So this week we are looking at episode 7, and it's probably going to be a slightly shorter episode than normal, because 1, we're tired, busy day tomorrow, and 2, normally we do this at the end, but I'm going to skip to the end and say probably the worst episode so far.
Yeah.
Or at least the most boring.
Only because there's kids.
Yeah. Well, you said there's kids. Spoiler for the title. Episode 7 is entitled Smart Kids.
Yes.
Was written by Robert Singer and directed by Daniel Levine. This debate again. Pretty sure. And I've said that wrong, actually. It was directed by Robert Singer, and it was actually written by Daniel Levine. Originally aired October 31st, 1993. Now, I had a quick read through of the synopsis before we started recording, but I'm going to let you read it and see if you can
spot
the mistakes. Yeah.
So, 4 children who seem to be very smart for their age escape from the orphanage, and they take over the city by appearing on TV and controlling everything. Back in the orphanage, a scientist named Dr. Carlton is looking for them. Lois and Clark try to find out where the kids are and why they are so smart. When one of them, Amy, goes back to the orphanage to get her sister, she's captured, and Lois becomes her temporary foster parent. Amy tells Lois about a portion or a poison that Dr. Carlton was giving them to make them smart. But if you stop using it, you become dumb again. In the meantime, the rest of the kids find out that Clark is Superman, but Clark manages to fool them that he's not. Later, it revealed that Lex works with Carlton, but when the two of them disagree, Lex gives Carlton her new portion or poison that instead of making you smarter, it burns your brain. Lois and Clark convince Amy that her friends are in danger, and she leads them to their hideout. They manage to convince all the kids that being a normal kid is the right way to live their childhood until becoming an adult, and they all return to the orphanage where they are safe again.
Yeah, very good. So,
well, it was really a poison, isn't it?
Well, no. The second one was, I would have said potion.
Potion, yeah.
Or serum is usually a good word for this kind of thing.
Shots.
Or drug would be fine, but maybe they go, oh, drugs. No, not giving kids drugs. That's bad. But,
Potion.
Paracetamol's a drug. Yeah. Anodine. Portion sounds a bit weird.
Yeah, I think it's just a typo.
Twice the same one. Well, the person that wrote it just, I don't know. Anyway, leave Wikipedia alone. They're doing the best they can. So, 4 children who seem to be very smart for their age escape from the orphanage. That's really where this episode picks up. We see these kids, and it says escape from the orphanage. We actually see them breaking in to
the laboratory.
Into this office or the lab, the safe.
Yeah.
And using like a very old, it was like a control for like a remote control car. Mm-hmm. But like a really big one. Yeah. And sort of using that to unlock the safe. So they've become so smart that they can do things that, why is that safe? That safe is not going to be attached to any kind of radio transmitter. It's just a like numerical safe.
Well, they're too smart.
That's how smart they are.
But it's alright. I mean, Dr. Carlton didn't anticipate that somehow that's gonna happen. I mean, they brought it to themselves, didn't they? Yeah, I like every time you're reading that and you say Carlton, I'm just thinking of Carlton from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. So, now his face is in my head every time.
Yeah. So we see these kids, and they just basically break in to this safe, find some shots of red liquid.
Yeah.
Do these sort of
strawberry juice.
Yeah. Oh, I was thinking maybe some kind of alcohol that they were drinking. Let's start straight away with how terrible the acting of the children were throughout.
Well,
From the first scene to the last.
that was like the side effect of the potion.
Oh, it makes
They
them
become
smart
but
and really bad actors.
Yeah.
Oh, it just... And do you know what? As soon as it started,
You're
I was like,
this is like the bottom of the
I'm not
list.
going to enjoy this episode.
Is that because of the kids?
It's because of the kids.
You have a kid of your own.
He would be a great actor. No, it was just so wooden and stiff and forced, and it didn't flow. And I was just thinking, I mean,
well, they always say never work with kids and with animals.
yeah, animal children. And then we jumped to Lois,
Yeah.
and that was a scene that
Do you think it was unnecessary?
I was literally just thinking
because
unnecessary.
she never remembered who they were at the end.
But it was unnecessary, but also, so she's walking up to her door, or the door of her building.
Yeah.
She's got like 2 big shopping bags. She drops something. She falls down the stairs. Like, when has Lois been this clumsy? She was maybe hoping Superman would come and save her shopping, but it didn't happen. And then she's sitting on the bottom of the stairs, and who should walk past these kids? Now, she lives in Metropolis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had a problem the other day with the speed at which everybody was getting from...
It's like everybody lives around the same area.
Yeah. It's a massive... Like, it's a, dare I say, metropolis. So, a big city, and yet...
Oh, also in this episode...
Everybody bumps into everybody.
This episode, we were told how many people...
We were? I really...
You wrote it down, didn't you?
I thought I did.
Like 12 million.
Yeah, 12 million people.
Look at that,
That's a great
remember.
memory. We watched it yesterday, so well done. Yeah, 12 million people live in Metropolis, and she bumped into those 4 children the night they stole. So does she live next to an orphanage?
We don't know. Maybe it's been, they did that in the afternoon or something.
They did it at night. We saw that it was night.
Oh.
So even again, the speed at which they must have been able to get in front of hers.
Well, they're really smart.
They're not
So probably-
fast. Stop defending these terrible children. So
No, I'm just trying to... say
so
the
she meets the
opposite of what
kids.
you're saying.
Then we jumped, and this is where we got the reference of 12 million people. We jump back to the staging area, it seems, for the start of most episodes. We're at the Daily Planet, and they're all chatting. And when I say they're all chatting, Lois, Jimmy, Clark, and Kat's back.
Yeah, I think she was just out away on holiday.
She wasn't back for much. She had 2 lines maybe all episode, but hey, she's back. So I'm going to feel bad about putting this bottom of the list, but Kat's back.
Yeah.
And then Perry comes in, makes an Elvis reference.
I missed that one.
It was the name of his pet monkey or pet ape or whatever it was that he had. That's where we got there's 12 million people and no news. Even if Jimmy keeps mentioning these kids that disappeared, and shouldn't we be concerned about these kids?
Was he already mentioning that?
So the kids had disappeared previously, like a few days ago.
Oh.
And then they went back and stole this formula, by the sounds of formula. That would have been a better word than portion.
Yeah. So they already did that, and then they went back to the orphanage.
They went back because, as we'll discover, if they don't keep taking this serum, that would have been a better word than portion.
There you go.
If they don't keep taking it, they get less intelligent, or they lose their intelligence. Yeah. So he was like chasing it down, but Perry kind of ignored it until the TV turns on, and we find out later it's being broadcast on every channel all around the city. The Smart Kids news program
broadcasting,
and
Smart Kids
I don't think what they did. So they gave like a little announcement. Then they showed part of an episode of Porky Pig.
Yeah. Was it like they're making like their own review?
Yeah, and then they just did the most
they were like analyzing it.
Yeah, like high school media studies kind of. Oh, these are all the big words I know. I'll just throw them all in to contextualize the episode. It was cringeworthy to hear them. And then they disappeared. Now, my problem is, if they were super smart and they want to be left alone,
they shouldn't have.
They could disappear easily. Oh, but we'll make them stop looking for us. No, you're just advertising even more, because in fact, because of this behavior, now
Everyone's
it's a story,
looking for
and
them,
so Lois and
yeah.
Clark start to investigate.
What do you think their purpose was for, creating a broadcast?
None,
network?
none at all. Well, they said we've got to make them leave us alone. Like, we're telling them to stop. It's not going to work.
Just don't tell them.
Just stay
I think
quiet.
it's because the kids really wants attention, isn't it? And that's what
That's
they were
probably what it
doing.
is. You're looking at it as a mother. You're
Of
seeing
course.
the
I'm
psychological
sorry, it's just...
background of these children. Then we see that Lex is behind everything. He's speaking with the scientist who
panics.
Carlton. Dr. Carlton. He's panicking and Lex just slaps him. Lex is crazy.
You feel better now? He said after that. I suppose so.
Then another little coincidence, because we hear the kids saying that basically because they bought the materials they needed to do the broadcast, they've like spent all the money they had on these credit cards. They've spent millions, because we find out later that like Lex's card gets declined because it had like a $10 million limit on it or some ridiculous amount like that. And so it's just funny how like they've spent all this money, so we're gonna need to get money, and then things happen where like they go to an ATM, Lois and Clark, which again, a happy coincidence that they happen to go to an ATM at this time. But I suppose this was before contactless payments and things like that, so maybe you were using more cash. And you put your card in, you put in the thing, you'd make the withdrawal, and instead of getting real money, you were getting these like smart kids bank money.
Did they have time to do that?
See, that's where again I get that you're not being smart. Like, you're advertising that you stole the money.
Yeah.
You're being the Riddler, a villain of Batman's, I might say.
There you go again.
Right, I've done the token reference. Didn't know how I was going to get it in this episode, but there we go. Yeah, you're being a typical kind of revealing that it's you, but also I kind of like how smart you are.
They should just have stolen the money and went to bought an island. They didn't need to ask, because they did the broadcasting. Said, give us this.
Yeah,
that.
But you can be smart. But I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were doing. There was like a question about who would win out of Lex Luthor or the leader from The Incredible Hulk, who are both very intelligent.
I'm not familiar with the leader.
He basically got gamma radiation like the Hulk, but instead of becoming strong, his head got big. He's intelligent.
Does he have like a really big green head?
Big green head.
Okay, I think I've seen a picture of it.
Yeah, so the point is, though, that what they said is that the leader's probably more intelligent, but Lex has more resources. Mm-hmm. And I feel it's a bit like this. Like, it doesn't really matter how intelligent these kids were. They didn't have the resources to do all of these things.
But if you are really smart, you can use other people's resources.
So if you're really smart, do you think you could turn all the water in the city into like a goo?
No, because you need to have access on a goo.
Well, that's what happened, isn't it? We see Lois at home.
And access on the water supply.
Yeah, so Lois is at home. She's going to take a bath. She turns on...
yourself, unless you go to the place where they distribute the water and put the formula of goo. And everyone would have goo in the...
Well, you see, that's what I'm saying. She turns on the bath water and there's all goo and everything. So it's just that kind of, oh, look, they're so clever, they're causing chaos. But again, you're drawing attention to yourself. I know it's a TV show, but come on.
It would have been more interesting if they did all the computers, because that they could do. You know what I mean? Because if they managed to broadcast everything, if they had access, if they managed to take all, you see, they wouldn't need any money, because they would be able to take all the money from the bank, and the lights they could manipulate.
Well, you see, that's the thing, isn't it?
Really
because
chaos.
Yeah, but what we're saying, like, normally we say what dates to show, right? But think about that. They're doing all of this when, like, now buildings, everything, it all runs on a computer. You get into the computer, you can unlock the doors, lock the doors, do the lights, do everything. But back then, everything was manual.
Yeah.
You didn't have... and there was no... And if you had a computer that was operating anything inside your office or your building...
It would only be there.
It was a secure network only inside. It wasn't being connected to a server somewhere on the other side of the planet. It just seems... it was
too early for its time.
Yeah, I'm just going to be honest with you, Robert and Daniel. You didn't do a good job in this one. I can't remember which one wrote it. I think I said it was Daniel Levine that wrote it. Yeah, it just a bit sloppy. I'm
It's
sorry.
not consistent, you know.
Well, it was just very tropey. Like, oh, these are kids. They'll do this. They'll do that, and they were just annoying. I wasn't enjoying watching this episode.
Oh, how about maybe what's in next on your?
I was going to say about the girl that goes back, but I skipped over that. Lois and Clark go to the orphanage. They kind of interview. They look around,
and then Clark used his X-ray vision and saw that in the lab someone was shredding some documents.
Yeah, and he grabs randomly one handful, and it just happens to have the name of this formula that they've created on it. Like, it was a massive black bin bag full.
He saw the guy shredding it and putting it in the bag.
Yeah, but that whole bag was full of shredded paper.
Yeah, but that must be the one that they didn't want anyone to find. That's the latest one. So if he grabbed the ones on the top, that was the paper that he wanted to get.
Okay, maybe.
Yes,
maybe.
It is.
I'll put that as a hard maybe. So we meet the sister of one of the girls, or one of the kids, and she's sort of very cryptic. Oh, I can't tell you who the bad man is, but if she can't, it's because of the bad man. But I can't
say. You're telling me now, so who is it?
Anyway, the sister does go back to try and rescue her, and of course she gets caught. Not very smart.
No.
And Lois manages to become her foster mum.
How does that work?
She contacts the biological mother who gave up the child, and somehow that they use that to basically get it. Lois feels she'll be adequately qualified. Clark has his doubts.
And then the next scene was Lois being restrained. Yeah,
tied up, and talking of dating it, the TV's in this. She's like fixing her TV for her and doing that, but the TVs, oh dear, they weren't flat, were they?
No, they were like a big box.
They go and interview the doctor. Like Lex, at least when you speak to him, he's a bit arrogant, a little bit haughty, puffed up, whatever you want to say, but he doesn't come across like a complete psycho. This guy, mad scientist, just how did he get a job working with children? Who vetted that?
Lex, of course.
But before that, he was working with Lex, not officially, but working for the school in an orphanage, and this guy comes in almost cackling.
I'm sure Lex must, donated a lot of money for the orphanage, and hence has a lot of say of, who to go and work there. So, I'm giving you this amount, and by the way, there's this doctor friend of mine that could give you a hand. So, Lex recommends him. He must be good.
Maybe.
That's how it works.
Yeah, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Even back then. And if you know Lex, then you're fine. Talking of Lex, we jump across to see Lex getting his massage from a very large Russian woman.
Like a really strong massage.
Yeah, and then gives her the credit card to pay for it and give yourself a good tip. And was declined. He said impossible because he's got this ridiculous limit on the card, and that's where we sort of see again where the kids have been causing chaos. We're going to wrap this up soon. There's not much left. What else happens? So they've basically got surveillance through the whole city.
The whole city, yeah.
Superman flies around looking for them. He doesn't.
That year, there's already camera everywhere.
Again, I don't know. No, let's put it that way. No, there would be cameras, but
not everywhere.
Again, you'd literally
camera in the banks and stuff like that.
Yeah, but they wouldn't be wireless cameras. They'd be wired cameras.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They would
or if they were,
then they would have a tape. In an office recorded.
An actual tape.
Yeah, because that's what you do now.
VCR tape.
You'd go in and you'd ask for the tape.
Now they just give you a little thumb drive or an SD card, and it would have here's the last 16 weeks of
Exactly.
surveillance on this 1 terabyte card for you. I was trying to think what happened. So they're watching. So they see Superman land, go around the corner, and then Clark comes out, and they start sending him balloons and notes saying, "We know it's you, and you've got to see
meet
us
up with us." Yeah, but he did really well there of pretending.
You thought it was good the way he made himself look like a big slob, and then he pretended to cut his finger
dipped it
in some ketchup. And again, very smart kids that they sort of fool for.
But it's funny because they were like demanding him to give them some money and an island. This is what I wanted to say earlier. I mean, you got Lex's money. You could have bought an island in Lex's name, or then manipulating. Go to your island.
Why would you buy an island though?
I think they just want to be left alone, but they didn't want to be left alone because they want everyone to see how smart they were.
Typical kid. They don't know what they want.
They don't know what they want. They just want attention.
Yes. Any kids listening to this, you don't know what you want. Listen to your mum and dad. Harvey, if you're listening to this, you should be listening to me. So we then see that we see Lex. Well, he's speaking to someone, but dare I say he's monologuing, isn't he? He's just
speaking to himself,
spilling his plan and why he did it and what he's doing and what they're hoping will achieve. And we find out that the Doctor is basically a vegetable in a chair now because he's taken I think, what did they call it, I think it's like metamide 5 is what they've been taking, and now they've got metamide 6 that jumps you to phase 2 where it just burns out your brain. So he's completely useless now. And Lex explains the plan, his clever plan, because they're going to work out that it all comes from LexCorp. They're going to break into LexCorp and they're going to steal what they think is number 5, but it's actually number 6, and they're going to take that, and that will... And we skipped over the part as well where Lex basically very candidly says, we're just going to get the kids and cut them up to see...
Their brains.
Like just to see how it's affected. He couldn't care less that they were
no.
And I feel that even when you have like a villain, they can be a pretty terrible guy, but it's rare that they're even like, oh, and kids, who cares? There's usually kind of a degree of like, whoa, no, they're just kids, leave them like,
because he doesn't have honor compared to other villains.
Even, dare I say it, in Batman 89, Jack Napier, before he becomes the Joker, kills Thomas and Martha Wayne,
but
points the gun at Bruce, doesn't even kill him.
No.
He became the Joker. My second Batman reference, you are welcome. I feel like I've done my quota for this episode. So, that was quite interesting character reveal of really how terrible Lex is. But basically the plan doesn't work. As he's explaining all the genius plan, there's a knock at the door, and there is the classic long trench coat, one child on the shoulders of another. But he's even
surprised.
Like, he looks at the kids like, who are you? What? He does not look at this little baby face and go, you're clearly a child.
Yeah.
So then they catch Lex, they tie him up. I'm trying to remember what
they took the 6.
What Superman and Lois are doing at this time, because I know that I think Lois is speaking with the girl that she's now looking after, because it's worn off, so she's become normal again. Yeah. And she's basically trying to convince her that, look, you don't need this. You don't want this. And moreover, Star Labs has got back to them and told them, look, this will if you keep taking this, your brain's gonna burn out, and it's dangerous. So, help us convince your friends to stop. Yeah. So they actually do manage to convince all of them bar one, who we find has not only taken number 6.
You forgot, they didn't take they took both 5 and 6.
Yeah, they took both from Lex's thing, when they take Lex and both vials.
Yeah.
But after Lois convinces the others to stop, the one Superman finds, he's taken 6, but he's also fixed it so that it works without the side effects. It's like the best version now.
Yeah.
And Lex is like in a chair with syringes all around him with the thing, and he's sort of threatening that he's going to press this button and it's going to inject him with everything. And then we have this really rubbish, terrible discussion between Superman and the boy, and he's telling him, you know, oh, you've got to enjoy being a kid, and you know, you don't want to be this smart now. You've got to learn through your mistakes, through the things you do as a child, and he sort of says to him, oh, so if you would be a kid again, would you do it? Well, no, because I've
already done that.
Gone through that, and also Superman is like telling him, you know, you don't want to be this smart. Trust me, I know it's not easy to be different. You're Superman. Oh, it must be so hard for you that bullets bounce off you, that you can get changed in 0.5 seconds.
He doesn't have any friends, and he can't be honest to anyone, and he has always to hide his true self.
Yeah, but he could do that without, like, if he's really so feeling hard done by, he could say, well, I'll just be Clark. Yeah, I won't reveal to everyone how strong I am, but I'll be kind of strong.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's not him, really. He'll always have to have, you know, to control his strength, his vision, his speed.
Okay, you know? Go the other way. Just be Superman.
Yeah, but
he doesn't need to eat. He recharges from the sun. Just be like a...
Yeah, but he wants to be a normal person too. You see this dilemma of being two-person, and he wants to help.
I don't know. I mean, as well, he could just fly somewhere else for a day. Just fly to, you know, the Philippines, land there, take off your cape, put on a barong, walk around for a day. Oh, yeah. Oh, you know, you look a bit like that Superman guy. You're just saying that because all white people look the same. And then off you go, you're fine. You're fine. Then you fly back to the metropolis, do a bit of saving.
Oh, I don't know. He just wants
if I was Superman, it would be a very different story.
With great power takes great responsibility.
Oh, we're not going to slip in Spider-Man references, not now. Sorry. No Marvel on this podcast.
What would Batman do? It's not the...
It's not who I am underneath, it's what I do that defines me.
Exactly. You have to say it with more feeling.
More gruff voice.
Yeah. It's not that.
Go on then. You've painted yourself into this corner.
I can't remember now. Come on, say it and I will do what Rachel said.
I'm not doing it.
Come on.
I'm editing this bit out. Right, come on, moving on. Well, that's the end. Terrible ending. Chit chat. The boy presses the button.
And it was all juice.
It was just grape juice.
So what was it? Did he anticipated that he's really not going to do that? That Superman would convince him?
I don't know.
Or he just wants to scare
I don't
Lex?
know. And then, you know...
I mean, if you're just going to scare Lex and let him go, you're going to get in so much trouble.
Also because Lex has a little bit of a run. When Superman's like saying you don't want to... Lex goes full supervillain. Like, no, you want to be more intelligent than everyone else. Oh, I'm sorry we used you, but now come work with me. Together we can... He did a kind of Darth Vader. Yeah. Together we will rule the galaxy as father and son.
Oh, yeah. I can't have Spider-Man references and you can have Star Wars references.
Exactly. I'm glad we understand the rules of the podcast.
Goodness. I'm leaving.
So there was that. Right. Well, normally, what do? What dates the show? The TVs?
Yeah.
The lack of technology on all of the little plans they had.
Yes.
The surveillance and the kind of the banking systems and all of that. That was probably the majority of the things.
It's not really. I mean, you still
go
to an
mean,
ATM thing and
yeah, but what I mean is
cash.
like
some shop doesn't accept cash.
No, I know, but like as you said, like them trying to get the money and do that. Like now, you wouldn't need to take the cash because actually the physical money in the bank doesn't mean anything because all that matters is the numbers on the computer. So you know, with your phone and your banking app and your money, those kids they wouldn't need to do anything like that. Because again, it's very you've taken away physical money, you've left fake money. There's a trail, but if it's just zeros and ones, who knows that you've now got $17 billion in your kiddie trust fund. Normally I'd go through the list and I tell you where we've ranked all the episodes up till now. I'm not going to bother because this is going bottom.
Okay. Well, we did say, did we? I mean,
We said
were
halfway
watching it.
through the episode,
Yes,
this was going bottom.
There was not even any argument with this. Yes, I agree. I said.
Yeah.
So. And I said it's because of the kids. Well, if it was different kids, then
yeah, maybe like better acting.
Or maybe if it was set a bit in our age, in our time.
I don't know. I just feel like it was that kind of that trope of them being, they're smart kids, but they were like
not smart.
They weren't being. They were book smart, but not. I don't want to say book smart, not street smart. They were just kind of. We'll use big words, and we'll act like we control all technology, but they weren't actually intelligent, like doing clever things.
Yeah.
That's the problem. I was, if you're intelligent, why are you turning all the water in the bath into
because
goo?
They're kids. They just want to have fun.
But that's not intelligent. That's not smart.
But that's the thing, isn't it? They're still kids. They just know a lot of things. And that's, as Amy said, he said, like, everything just clicks. He just understands everything. And she just understands everything, and she just remembers everything. So I think they just incorporated that to them being kids. And they thought, wouldn't it be fun to put fake money in? And when people come collect their money, it would be that money that written smart kids.
Well, I don't think that was fun. I think that was very bad and immature.
Well,
and not what a good citizen of Metropolis would do.
At the end of the day.
And Superman, at the end, should have put those kids in prison.
At the end of the day, they were just kids.
That's how they get away with murder.
Kids.
Probably literal murder. Maybe somebody drank some of that goop. We don't know what happened. We only saw Lois's apartment. That was the other thing. Like, that whole kind of the small world of Metropolis annoyed me a lot, because I think it should be bigger than that. I get that Superman can bump into a lot of people. He's flying around. And I understand that they can bump into people when they're investigating and they're doing the journalist stuff. But the number of times just on the street. And there were a couple of jokes that really didn't land.
That's the story, isn't it? I mean, that's like... The thing that I just didn't understand is she never remembered that they were them.
Yeah.
Because then she saw the pig. No, she saw
I've seen that pig before. How many pigs are you seeing walking around the streets of Metropolis? See, this is...
Like, when she was talking to Amy in the apartment, I suppose it was dark, and you're not really looking at them. You're looking at the can of tomato sauce on the floor, so you weren't really paying attention to them when they were like saying those mean comments at her. Yeah.
Well, I just I don't know. I didn't enjoy this episode. I'll keep watching the series. It wasn't enough to turn me off. Spoilers for the next episode. I think it's going to be the introduction of Kryptonite.
Ooh.
So hoping something interesting will come from that, because to be honest,
you have a lot of things to say about that, though. Yeah,
I was going to say I never thought Kryptonite would interest me. I'm normally a big moaning of Kryptonite again. Is that all we're going to use? But if I've got to pick between Kryptonite or kids, I'm going Kryptonite.
Well, considering this episode, we still managed to record 30 minutes.
Yeah, we've gone over the half-hour mark.
So if you just keep on talking, you will get into 40 minutes.
No, we don't need to do that. We can start to wrap up. So we put this episode bottom of the list.
Yeah. Tell us, guys, what do you think about this episode? You think it has to be in the bottom of the list, or you can, put it somewhere in the middle? I don't know. Tell us what you think.
If you've been watching along at home,
well, if you're listening up to this point, why you're not watching them?
Yeah, if you've got a reason why you think this episode should not be bottom, and I know how much I moaned about episode 2 that nothing happened, but somehow I feel like even less happened in this episode.
I think it was just really about kids.
They grated on me. That's what it was. I like kids. I've got one.
I know.
You
just don't want those that are smarter than you.
Well, there weren't any in this episode. I mean, if they could have just recorded a podcast, that's all they needed to do. They could have invented podcasting. That would have been fun. We have ranked the episode.
Yeah.
We've dated the episode.
Yes.
We've discussed it.
Destroyed it. It seems like this reviews is basically just destroying all the
This is the
little
whole
idea.
Normally I ask you,
I
how do
feel so
you
sorry.
how do you feel seeing it for the first time? That's normally one of my questions.
Oh, I don't know. It was a bit, I don't know.
Because going back to it, I'll be honest, I did not remember
Your brain just
any of this
basically pushed
episode.
the memory of this one.
And there's a real strong part of me that thinks I probably turned it off. Because I don't remember anything from this episode.
No, I didn't like this episode, to be honest.
No, and it worries me. How many episodes are we in?
It
7.
wasn't as exciting.
So 7 episodes in, and we're starting. This is the first big dip in quality, in my opinion. And even Superman was hardly in it.
Yeah.
Hardly there at all. Anyway, if, as I was saying before we went back onto the probably the main thing, if you've got any reason why you feel this episode should be ranked slightly higher, maybe you're one of the child actors who's now grown up.
That's true. Sorry, guys.
In which case,
it's not your fault.
That was great to hear from you.
Yeah,
please join us to review one of the next episodes.
Or if there's any scene here or any dialogue that you didn't like, let us know.
You can do that, of course, by contacting the show through all the links to the other podcasts that we do a conversation with. So that's Twitter and Instagram at ACWPod. Email is aconversationwithpod@gmail.com. Our website is aconversationwithpod.com. We also have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/aconversationwith, where you can support this show and A Conversation With as well. So that's everything we've got to say on this episode, and let's hope that next one's a lot better. Until then, bye-bye.
Goodbye, guys.